discovered it was him without even trying very hard. This is just, I can't get over this. Okay, the serious face. So at this point in the story, a new protagonist shows up. His name is Declan Walsh. Now, I reached out to Declan like at least 3 times. I emailed him, I tweeted at him, I even went through some of his friends, but no response. Dude is mad busy, and I don't blame him for not responding. At least I tried, right? Anyway, it doesn't matter because he left a mark on this story and documented everything along the way. Declan Walsh is a reporter for the New York Times, and he was doing a bunch of stories in Pakistan and saw this and was like, wait a minute, there's something not right about this company Exact, and investigated. In fact, he spent 2 years investigating the story. He spoke with a bunch of people who worked at Exact, and he talked to people who bought fake degrees from there. He even spoke with Fazal, the same guy you heard earlier. I mean, it was really phenomenal reporting what he did, and he published a really good article in the New York Times exposing all the shenanigans that Exact was getting up to. And he found that Exact had set up over 300 websites of fake schools, and like 18 of them were accrediting bodies, fake accrediting bodies, you know, like places that confirm a school is legitimate. Dang, that's just like a lot of schools that he just made up. Like, so much work went into building this company. Yeah, well, when Declan's New York Times article was published, it rippled through Pakistan. People were mad. What's up with this? It looked really bad for a Pakistani company to be so scammy, you know? So the FIA, which is like Pakistan's FBI, was like, okay, we'll check into it. We'll see if there's any fraud here. Meanwhile, Exact's lawyers are sending letters to the New York Times like, hey, you're writing lies about us, we don't like it, it's baseless and defamatory, we're going to pursue strict legal action against you. But the FIA was investigating Exact. And yeah, they found enough evidence to open a case. What's more is they really didn't like the kind of bullying behavior that they were trying to scam customers out of more money by threatening them and deceiving them. So the FIA took action. They raided the offices of Exact. And they just started grabbing everything once they got in there. Computers, documents, people. But absolutely none of the executives were around during the raid. Which is kind of suspicious. Like, how did those executives know not to come in the office that day? But the people they did grab, questioned them and just let them go. They found in the building next to Exact is where they were printing all the fake degrees. They had printers there and fancy paper, everything. And they just took it all. And at this point, the timeline becomes very dizzying to me. I tried my best to like get it all sorted out, but it's fuzzy. There's some gaps, I'm sure. But I'll do what I can to explain what I think happened. But I'll just let you know this story from here on out is kind of difficult to know exactly what happened. So the FIA raids the Exact offices, right? But they didn't arrest anyone. Well, with the information they gathered from the raid, they found enough evidence to put out arrest warrants for 23 people, including the CEO, Shoaib Sheikh. I can't tell if any of them were actually caught or arrested, or if they turned themselves in or did any jail time at all, and I can't even tell you who the 23 people are that had arrest warrants out for them. I'm assuming they were executives or people involved. Actually, I did see an article that said Shoaib's wife was one of the people with arrest warrants, but hers was dismissed because they didn't have enough evidence on her. But I did read that all 23 people who did get arrest warrants were just like quickly released on bail. So I don't know if they did any jail time or just maybe a day or two before leaving. And during that FIA investigation, they found that guy Salem, the guy who took the fall for the class action lawsuit a few years back. He admitted that Exact had paid him to take the fall. In fact, when he was appearing on video in court, he only acted like he was moving his lips, and then some Exact official was like off camera saying the things for him, and then they paid him $250 to go into hiding and disappear. Well, the FIA was like, okay, we did our job, we gathered the evidence, we raided the office, we arrested some folks. Court, it's now on you to finish up and sentence them. There's documents that suggest that Exact made hundreds of millions of dollars from their scams. They took money from over 200,000 people around the world. This means it was one of the biggest scams of all time. Stephen Colbert even joked about this. Here, listen to this.
That's right. The Pakistani company Exact was selling fake college diplomas, which explains where bin Laden got his degree in women's studies. Luckily, Pakistani authorities arrested the Axe CEO, charging him with illegal money transfers, forgery, and fraud. No doubt he'll represent himself in court. I hear he's got like 20 law degrees. Well, I, for one, am glad they caught the guy. Charging people hundreds of thousands of dollars for fake degrees is appalling. I believe that fake college should be free.
Fake college should be free. I agree, Stephen. Fake college should always be free. Now, before the sentence could be carried out, this guy, Judge Memon, suddenly and out of the blue acquitted all of the people who were accused. Like, somehow the number was now at 27 people of being accused. So Schwabe and 26 others just all had their charges dropped just by the judge, and they were free to go. Like, you're done. There was no explanation or anything. It was just unreal. But the Pakistani court's like, whoa, hold on, wait, what just happened? And they looked into this guy, Judge Memon, further, and they found that he accepted a bribe from Schwabe for about $18,000 to just acquit everyone. And once the court found out about this bribe, they fired the judge and unacquitted all 27 people involved and reopened all the cases. And one guy was pretty unlucky in all this, Umair Hamid. He was the vice president of Exact, and guess what? He was living in the U.S., so the authorities were able to nab him, and he pled guilty. He had no escape from the U.S. justice system. There was no one to, like, put in front of him and say, oh, it was this other guy. So he went to prison for, like, a year and a half. In 2018, the Pakistani Sessions Court found 23 Exact employees and executives guilty of impersonation, cheating, and dishonesty, forgery, and aiding and abetting. And the judge is like, okay, I'm going to give you all your sentence now. But there's this moment in court where the judge is like, where is everyone? None of the 23 defendants showed up to their sentencing hearing. None. So the judge is like, well, that's rude. I'm removing all your bail, and I'm calling for your rearrest with no bail option this time. And then the court issued prison sentences for all 23 people. I think the highest that someone got was 7 years in prison, but collectively it all added up to 20 years prison time. On top of that, they're all fined like a significant amount of rupees too. And also, somewhere in here, Schwabe lost control over Bowl, that TV studio he started. It looks like the Pakistan Electronic Media Regulatory Authority revoked the broadcasting license that Bowl had, I guess until Schwabe stepped down or something. But then in 2023, a different company came in and bought Bowl, so it's definitely out of his hands now. Okay, so that's that, right? 23 people sentenced to prison for this whole Exact degree mill scam. You'd think Exact would just like shutter its business and the CEO would just face his punishment. Well, no. Not from what I could tell. Even though he was sentenced in 2018, it wasn't until 2023 that he was arrested. And don't ask me how he managed to stay free all that time. Like I said, the details here are just baffling to say the least, and I have a lot of questions. But apparently business went on as normal in Exact. And there's a video of the FIA arresting the CEO Schwabe at the Islamabad airport. I'll try to describe the scene to you. Schwabe's wearing like a black polo shirt. He's looking very calm and a little confused, but not struggling or yelling or anything. And they put him in a car and they drive him away. Kind of uneventful. And even after all that, there's still a lot of people on his side. Like the Bowl news station was saying things like, he's being abducted. We don't know where they took him. And they're only arresting him because he supports Imran Khan. And this whole arrest is a violation of freedom of speech. Well, you can guess his arrest didn't last long. I believe he only spent 2 days in jail and then was released. And all I can find is that he submitted documents to the FIA, who then let him go based off those documents. Are you still working there?
No. My wife was not happy with me being part of this and wanted me to quit. So I did. Yeah, I don't work there anymore. I've gone to work for a different tech company.
So yeah, that's where we stand today. Exact. It looks to me that they're still in operation. And the CEO did not serve his prison sentence, and I guess is doing just fine out in the world. I guess, what could he be doing? Appealing the case? That's possible. Maybe he just has some deals with people to, like, don't, like, arrest him anymore or just, like, drop the case. I don't know. It's just too hard for me to cut through the noise to find answers of what's going on over there. My guess is that with his wealth and power, he just has a lot of pull in that country. Politicians and government officials have been very vocal that they're on his side. And who knows what they're doing to help him get out of all this mess. I have a feeling that this is not the last time we'll hear about Exact. I'm really curious what they get up to next. A big thank you to Fazal, which is not his real name, for sharing this story with us. And if it wasn't for him bringing me the story and telling me all about this, I wouldn't even know about this. Oh, and thanks to Shrikant Joshi for doing the voice acting on this one. If you're looking for a new shirt, go to shop.darknetdiaries.com and check it out. I think there are over 50 different shirt designs there, and I guarantee you're going to find one you love. So please check out the shop. This episode was created by me, the TikTok Tiger, Jack Resider. Sound design by the wily whiskered Andrew Merriweather. This episode was assembled by the Strooned Perfumed Raccoon, Tristan Ledger. Mixing done by Proximity Sounder. Our theme music is by the mysterious Breckmaster Cylinder. What happens if you severely overclock a PC? It goes up in frames. This is Darknet Diaries. A few years back, a listener wrote to me to tell me about a problem they were facing. Okay, check this out. They went to buy a house, right? And when you go to buy a house, there's like a little dance that everyone does. Like, do you give them the money first? Or do they give you the deed first and the keys? Or do you do like a quick swap at the same time? What if it's a phony check or the deed is made up? This is where escrow comes in. Both the seller and buyer hand their things to a third party, someone that both sides trust and waits for everything to clear. If the check clears and the deed is valid, then escrow says, okay, the deal is done, and gives the money to the seller and the keys to the buyer. So this guy, a listener of mine, says he bought a house, and during this process, he gave $250,000 to the escrow company. But then, someone scammed the escrow company. They posed as the seller and said, hey, could you just deposit the money into our bank account directly? And escrow's like, oh yeah, of course, no problem. We do this all the time. Here you go. And they deposited the $250,000 into the scammer's account instead of the actual seller. But here's the crazy part. Because the seller never got the money, escrow wouldn't give the keys to the buyer. They were being jerks about it. They were trying to say, oh, sorry, we lost the money. No house for you. The deal has been canceled. And the buyer's like, oh, no. That's what escrow is for. You're our trusted third party. We trusted you to do this deal. You screwed up, and that's not our problem. That's yours. But escrow's like, no. I never got an update on what happened here and if this got resolved. I think the buyer took escrow to court to try to get their money back. What a nightmare, though. To send a huge check somewhere, only for it to go to the wrong place. And then someone else runs off with the money. Ah! These are true stories from the dark side of the internet. I'm Jack Resider. This is Darknet Diaries. This episode is sponsored by Threat Locker. These days, one wrong click of a button can lead to a catastrophic cyber attack on your organization, and nobody has time to keep training poor Doris in accounting on what not to click. Cyber attacks are devastating to businesses, and without the correct solution in place, your operation remains at risk. ThreatLocker has built an endpoint protection platform that strengthens your infrastructure from the ground up with zero trust security posture that protects business-critical data while also mitigating cyber attacks. Threat lockers allow listing, ring fencing, storage control, elevation control, and network control solutions, to name a few, give you a more secure approach to blocking the exploits of known and unknown threats and application vulnerabilities.
working together to deny applications by default, block inbound network traffic, and ring fencing your applications, ThreatLocker provides zero trust control at the kernel level. If you're looking for a proactive solution that will keep your business better protected in the face of cyber attacks, check out ThreatLocker's Cyber Heroes at www.threatlocker.com. That's threatlocker.com. Support for this episode comes from Covert Swarm. What could be more effective at helping secure your organization against security breaches than employing your worst nightmare to break in first? That's exactly what the team at Covert Swarm delivers. Covert Swarm's subscription service emulates constant and brutal cyber attacks using sophisticated skill sets and cutting-edge tooling. Everything they deliver flows through their Offensive Operations Center, an online platform that allows you to see where your attacks are taking place, gain rapid insights into where the next breach point sits, and even direct the covert swarm of ethical hackers to explore specific areas of your estate, whether it's technical asset, physical location, member of staff, or a specific business process. They'll even communicate with you in real time via Slack, Teams, or your chosen app. If you're interested to hear how the Covert Swarm team can rapidly and repeatedly review your unique and constantly evolving security posture, then reach out to the team at covertswarm.com/darknet. That's covertswarm.com/darknet. Say hello to your favorite enemy. Say hello to Covert Swarm. I was clicking around the other day and came across this story on Good Morning America.
Shreya Dada thought she'd met the man of her dreams on a dating app, only to find out her Prince Charming was a scam and she was out more than $450,000.
What the? How in the world does some guy on a dating app scam someone for $450,000? That's insane.
This person presented themselves to be everything I was looking for.
She was the victim of a scam known as pig butchering. A scammer pretends to be looking for love online. They find a love interest, casually encourage them to invest in crypto via a fake app, but eventually they can't access the money at all. The money is gone. The investments, not real.
Dang. Things we do for love, huh? Or maybe it was for money. Or maybe it was for the love of money. I don't even know.
Yeah, so hearing that story, I've heard it 1,000 times over.
Okay, hold on. Who are you and what do you do?
Oh, yeah. So my name is Ronnie Tokozowski. I've been fighting business email compromise for the last 8 years now. So my role in this is I work behind the scenes with a lot of people who are working with romance scam victims. I do a lot of work with Secret Service, FBI. I also work back and forth with victims too, because a lot of what happens is the scammers will go to different dating websites. They will go and find people in order to date. They will move the discussions off of the platform just because most of the platforms cost, but they'll move it to like WhatsApp, and then from there they'll start grooming the person. They'll say loving things. We've had cases where some of the victims might send nude pictures over to their lover, and once they go and are exchanging those sweet nothings, the scammers directly build that relationship, build those emotions.
So I heard this term, pig butchering, and I'm not connecting the dots here. And nowhere in this romance or crypto or cold, sending money to people, is there a pig involved? Where is this term pig butchering coming into?
Yeah, so the term pig butchering comes from a Chinese phrase called shazhukan, which is essentially a broiled, I think it's broiled meat, if I remember. I forget the exact translation. But what the concept is the scammers will go and try and fatten the pig, if you will. So what they will do is extract as much money as they can out of a victim. And where the pig butchering comes in is that once the scammers get to a point where they feel like they can't get any more money out of the victim, they will take the pig in for slaughter or slaughter the pig. And what they mean by that is actually pulling the rug out from under the victims and like walking away and essentially be like, I got all the money that we could. So that's kind of where the phrase pig butchering comes from.
Okay, so for some reason, Ronnie is attracted to this type of scam or fraud or whatever you want to call it, and zooms in whenever he sees these stories come up. And one day, he heard about a colleague who got pig butchered and wanted to help him out.
Him and his girlfriend, they were dating for several years. Like, they've been together for as long as I've known. It's probably about 8 years now that they've been together. So they were engaged to be married. They had a house together. And unfortunately, things happened, and that relationship kind of flopped. So they went their separate ways. He lost the house, and unfortunately, it wasn't really a good circumstance.
Breakups are hard. It's a tough time for anyone. You can sink into deep levels of depression. Your defenses are weak, and your vulnerabilities are exposed.
So he went to go online and go date somebody. So he went onto a dating platform, found this really pretty French girl who was very involved with him and very kind of attached to him. So the two of them really hit it off. And at some point, she popped the question to say, "Hey, I'm also doing a lot of crypto investments. Is that something that you'd be interested in?"
Okay, I don't see any red flags yet, and he didn't either. At this point, they were just chatting through text, like a lot. She seemed to be into everything he was interested in, and he was liking that. He was coming out of his breakup, and she seemed to be caring and helpful. And yeah, okay, so she's into crypto investments. That's fine, she could be into that. But he was curious. Was it really working for her? He had some crypto somewhere. I was like, tell me more about what you're invested in. So she tells him, man, there's this hot investment. It's making mad bank. And he's like, yeah, okay, well, what is it? Show me. So she keeps talking it up. I'm basically just living off the profit from this thing. It's nuts. And he's like, you gotta show me what you're talking about. So she's like, okay, so you know how your savings account makes interest, right? This is like that, but it just pays much more. You put your money in, and then daily it makes interest, and you can just take that interest out if you want. Or leave it in, and it adds up, and you make even more. So he's like, well, how much interest are you earning? And she's like, 20%. If you have $1,000 invested, it'll earn you $200 in interest a day. And at any time, you can just take your $1,000 out if you want. And he's like, man, that does sound too good to pass up. So she gives him the links to read up on.
Being in the field, he knew a good bit of crypto. He's naturally a very skeptical person. So he did his research on a lot of the way that they present the money. So he went, they provided links and information for him to check once he went and submitted his money.
This scheme was very, very clever. I mean, this guy was a cybersecurity professional. He knew about the dangers of cryptocurrency and was suspicious about all this. But this had a mix of legitimate information with just a small dash of fraud. See, the way they had this set up was they made it look like it was using a legitimate exchange, in this case, Crypto.com.
And the way that the application was presented to him was, and this is his perspective, I'm still trying to get the full scope here, but there was actually a browser that they could use within Crypto.com that will have it show up that actually looks like the application. And looking at some of the screenshots, it looked like it was right within the Crypto.com application. And because of that, when your user goes and clicks that stuff, it appears to be 100% legitimate.
I looked at some of these screenshots myself. It's hard to tell what's going on, but one thing is clear. They social engineered him and tricked him into sending his crypto to the scammer's wallet. They just disguised the wallets to look trustworthy. Basically, he would buy cryptocurrencies on Crypto.com with real money and then send those crypto coins to this investment project. Investment in quotes there. Really, it was a scam, and it looked really good. It didn't look like a scam at all. You could see your balance, you could see your earnings, you could interact with it, you could pull your money out at any moment. So he decided to give it a try. He put some money in, sent the crypto, and when he saw it was generating interest, he tested it by taking some out, and it was like, wow, this is actually working, because it looked like it was. But this is where the pig butchering scam comes in. The scammers wanted him to take the bait, start with putting in a little, see that it's working, and then hopefully put in some more and more and more, and hope that he dumps a ton of money into this. And when they think he's put in enough, they'll take the money and run. So as he starts watching the money grow on this site, the scammers start ramping up the pressure. They tell him if he invests a little bit more within this time frame, he'll get locked in for bonus interest, basically presenting him with more exciting opportunities that were time sensitive.
In addition to putting his own money in there, because of the high returns that were being shown, he also went and had gotten a loan. So he actually used a loan to go and put more money into it, because again, if you can use that loan to go and get more money, who will do that? So that's another common thing we see with a lot of people is they'll go take loans out from a financial institution. They'll take a second mortgage out on their home in order to go and get more money based on those investments.
Taking loans out? Now I see why someone can end up losing a ton of money in this scam. But not only that, these scammers were really tricky. They would sometimes tell him, look, we locked your account because there's not enough funds to cover withdrawals. Please deposit another $40,000 in the next 96 hours to unlock your account. And he's like, whoa, wait a minute. What if I don't deposit that? Then you risk losing your money. So he's like, oh no, I don't want that. And so he goes scrambling, looking for even more money to put into this. So this guy eventually goes all in. And then some, putting all his savings in and taking a loan out to add more. Because to him, this was a way to get out of debt, past financial freedom. And it was very exciting.
From there, the scammers were able to successfully collect about $90,000 out of him.
Oh, how cruel. And yeah, this $90,000 was a nice fat pig. And the scammers were like, okay, that's right, let's take it. And they did. They took his money, leaving him high and dry. Ouch. He saw his money disappear, and he knew he was screwed. Ugh. But he sat and thought about it for a bit. Is there a way to get any of this money back from the scammers?
What he did was he used the exact same emotional manipulation tactics against the scammers. And what he did was he was like, hey, I'm going to go ahead and invest more, but I need to pull this little bit of money out in order to help with this loan. So if you can let me pull some of my money out or wire it over here, I'll go ahead and do that. So he was able to get $10,000 of his back by, again, deploying the same tactics against the scammers. And he was able to build up enough trust with them to where he was able to get that money back.
He scammed him back. Hilarious. Man, that reminds me of this story I have. Okay, so this one time I was in Vegas, right? Yeah, I was actually going there for a DEF CON. And when I went, I brought a burner phone with me, right? It's just a phone that I paid with cash, got a prepaid plan, all that stuff. It was a new phone number. And when I got to Vegas, I was getting text messages from a scammer. I sniffed it out right away. They were trying to play on my empathy, saying things like, we can't afford money to buy food for our kids and medicine and clothes and something. And they specifically asked for $749 to get themselves sorted. And I'd be an absolute angel if I could help. And I was like, I replied, look, I'd love to help, but I'm currently stranded. My boyfriend and I got in a fight, and he dumped me off in the middle of nowhere, and I don't know anyone here who can help me. I don't have any money to get home. I am screwed. I was trying to use the scammers' tactics on themselves, trying to be someone in distress, just like they were saying. It did not work. They kept asking me for money, and I was like, okay, listen, I'm happy to help you. I have money to help you, but my boyfriend took my purse, and all I have is my phone, and there's strangers all around me. So unless you can help me get home, like, I don't know, send me $200. Then once I get home, then I can help you. It didn't work. They stopped texting after that and just left me alone. So when you run into someone who's been a victim of this, how do you help them?
So the way I help them is I help them a couple ways. So the first place is that when it comes to understanding the emotions in our body tied back to a lot of the way the scam works, people feel a lot of shame, they feel a lot of hurt, they feel a lot of disconnect because of the stigmas associated with it. What I mean by that is when you're a victim like this, people don't want to come forward on this. So I try and help them learn how to work with their own bodies in that regard. So that's one way that I help them. The second way is I point them to the resources where they can go and submit a lot of requests. So they may be working with IC3 and maybe working with colleagues who also work with romance scams, or it may be helping introduce them over to some of the crypto assets where they can start pulling some of that money back. The third thing I do is, again, just trying to help put them in contact with the right people, because what happens is when you're in the scam, your head spinning 1,000 miles an hour. You don't know which way is up. You don't know which way is down. You don't know who to trust. And many of us work behind the scenes to try and help be that good driving force for many of these victims. And when we go and we try and help them out, that's kind of where we do our assistance. In addition to that, we've also been running a mailing list for the last 7 years. talking on many things as a result of business compromise and kind of overlapping things with that. And we have a close contacts with a lot of banks and financial institutions to help either try and reverse some of that money or do what we can to get some of that money back or try to flag those assets where we know, hey, these are actually part of a scam.
$90,000, that's a lot of money to lose. Is that kind of the upper limit of where you've seen people losing stuff, or people